Okay, it's really late, I'm tired, I want to go to bed, so let's be quick. Rotation is coming soon, and as you know, a lot of cards are rotating out of standard, which means that you won't be able to play them until the next reprint. And because of this, a lot of cards end up in the bin, end up thrown away, given to strangers, whatever. So I have decided to show you a list of 15 common cards that you might want to keep instead of just throw them away, especially if you play Pauper or sometimes even Modern, I don't know. Just have a look at these 15 common cards, and if you like them, well, keep them, I guess. Let's start real quick with the number one card, which is the only card from Exelon, which is Dive Down, an instant for 1 blue that gives target creature you control +0/+3 and hexproof until end of turn. Now, this is basically a 1 mana counter spell for targeted removal, and it also helps against some combat situations. So I think that a 1 mana counter spell is always a good thing if you're playing blue, and yeah, it has more than one upside, because you can use this card to make one of your creatures survive combat as well. And also, hexproof is not like just countering a spell, it lasts until end of turn, so your card won't be targeted by your opponent until end of turn. Yeah, very good, and keep it. Moving on to Rivals of Ixalan, we have Dusk Legion Zealot. If you play Pauper, you probably know what Phyrexian Rager is in mono black control deck. Is basically a staple. This card here is a smaller Phyrexian Rager, basically, because it has the same enter the battlefield effect, which is that when it enters the battlefield you draw a card and lose 1 life. But it costs 1 less generic mana, and it is a 1/1 instead of a 2/2. So yeah, it's basically a chump blocker that you can keep to I don't know, block stuff, and also, well, it's easier to play than the Phyrexian Rager, so keep it. Maybe one day you will need it. It's a good card, actually. Keep it. We also have Fanatical Firebrand, which is a Goblin Pirate for 1 red, and it's a 1/1 with haste that you can tap and sacrifice to deal 1 damage to a creature or a player. Now, this card is really interesting in Burn, since Burn decks in Pauper especially don't have the potential to deal combat damage when they encounter even medium-sized blockers like Augur of Bolas. With this card here, with this creature, you can still have some cannon fodder to throw at your enemy even when you can't deal proper combat damage, which is always good in a very fast deck like Burn. Now, this card, for the same reason, was also played in the mono red aggro deck which is in standard, and will probably rotate totally or almost totally at the end of this week. So yeah, you probably have a lot of these cards a lot of copies of this card if you already play standard, and I guess you should keep it. Moving on, we have Gruesome Fate, which is a sorcery for 2 and a black that makes each opponent lose 1 life for each creature you control. Now, this card here, if you want to play it in Commander, it's quite good because it works with every opponent that you have. So yeah, you can basically gain a lot of creatures and then kill all your opponents with 1 sorcery. Or you can also play it in Pauper, especially in Elves deck, or in every giant every go wide creature type deck that can give you some black mana. And yeah, that's basically it. You play it when you have a lot of creatures, and you win, or you just put your opponent in a very dangerous situation. Keep it, because you will probably like it. Moving on to Dominaria, we have the G2 Lava Runner, which is also has been also played in mono red aggro and even in Pauper Burn as well. So you probably have some of these cards if you play Pauper or Standard. This is a decent card. It will be helpful when you play Pauper. It could also be helpful in other formats, but Pauper is the format where this card is really present at the moment, so keep it. Navigator's Compass is an interesting card because I think it's a really overlooked card. It's an artifact for 1 generic mana that gives you 3 life when it enters the battlefield, but also you can use it to fix some of your mana by tapping it. So basically this card is very good in the Affinity sideboard against Burn, Stompy or other heavy aggro decks, because you just, gain some more life to slow down your opponent and help your lands become basically the color that you desire, so you can play your stuff early. This is really important since Affinity is a 3-color deck, and even if it's really fast, it's not always the case, Anyway, a very good card that I think you should keep. Moving on, we have Run Amok, an instant for 1 and a red that gives a target attacking creature +3/+3 and trample until end of turn. This is a good card in the very old It's at Blitz deck, and also it can be really helpful in a red deck, wind type deck, and even in a red-green Cascade, even though it is not really a very good deck. It is quite simple, it helps you punching through, and yeah, I think this is why you should keep it. Moving on, we have Unwind. This is a very powerful counter card. You use it to counter a non-creature spell, and then you untap up to 3 lands. Now this is an obvious card for Tron, because you just cast it tapping Urza's Tower and fixing the blue mana with an artifact, and then you untap up to 3 Urza's Tower, giving you 9 mana back after tapping 3. So yeah, I don't think you should actually give this card away. It's very good, and maybe you could also use this in another type of deck, maybe a modern deck, a modern Tron deck, a commander deck. So, well, just keep it because I think this card is good in a lot of formats. Moving on, we have Warlord's Fury, which is a sorcery for 1 red that gives all your creatures first strike until end of turn, and then makes you draw a card. Now, this card here might look like a very weak card, but in a deck like Goblin, or also red deck wins as well, you might want to have some protection before attacking, so first strike can become a very good way to avoid all your creatures dying in the attempt of dealing some damage. And also, well, it replaces itself, so yeah, it's pretty good. It's a sorcery, but for 1 mana you can't just get the best of the best. I mean, you have to make compromises, but it's still pretty good, so keep it. Moving on, we have Adventurous Impulse, which is a sorcery for a green mana this time, that makes you look at the top 3 cards of your library, and after you reveal a creature or land card from among them, if you want, you put the revealed card into your hand and the other cards on the bottom of your library in any order. Now, this card here is really played a lot in sliver decks, and it is a very good card for 2 reasons basically. First reason is you can play, you can start a game with just 1 forest in your hand if you have this card, because you can pick a second land during turn 1, or just pick one CMC creature. Also, you can use it to replace it with a very interesting creature that you might even be able to cast right away. You just have to add a green mana, and you basically can cast a creature from the top 3 cards of your deck. You can put it this way, and this is why I think this card is really powerful and should be played in the future, even after rotation. So keep it. Another interesting card, card that I think has been overlooked quite a bit, is Artificer's Assistant. Now this is a bird for 1 blue that has flying and is 1/1, but also gives you the ability to scry 1 whenever you cast a historic spell. Now historic spells were something in Dominaria that meant artifacts, legendary spells, and sagas. So you can basically still use it in Pauper with artifacts, or use this ability in Modern and Commander for, well, all historic spells. But I am thinking about Pauper because all these Jeskai Ephemerate decks use Arcum's Astrolabe to draw a lot of cards, and then they really like to bounce it using the Glint Hawk or the Core Skyfisher. Now you can put this card before you start bouncing the Astrolabe to basically grant you the possibility to scry before you draw. Now I don't think this is a really bad idea after all, because okay, you have to play this bird that is actually a bit useless before the Astrolabe is played or bounced, but the ability to filter your card draw better is really something that you might want to consider in that deck. So yeah, I think that this card really holds a place in a Pauper top deck. So keep it. Moving on, we have the last card from Dominaria, which is Divest. Now this card here, even though it is not as good as Duress, because Duress can hit something that many other black cards cannot, which is instants and sorceries and even enchantments. Divest can get creatures and artifacts, which is really something that is still really important when you're playing against decks like Stompy, which is really powerful in the Pauper meta. Now, outside of Pauper, this card is actually not that great, because Modern has got way better cards to make you discard stuff that cost 1 mana, and probably even Commander is not looking at this card with a lot of interest. But on Pauper here, this card can be an interesting sideboard option when you're playing mono black. Okay, moving on to M19 core set 2019, we have 3 cards. The first of which is Epicure of Blood. Now, why am I choosing this card? This card does not seem powerful at all, right? Wrong, because as the very smart boy Caleb Gannon has shown on YouTube, you can use this card in conjunction with Weather the Storm to create a giant combo, basically another storm combo, which is basically what it is, because Weather the Storm has got Storm in its text to win the game. That is because Epicure of Blood makes all your opponents lose 1 life whenever you gain life, and if you can play Weather the Storm and with the Storm ability copy it 20, 30, 40, whatever times, you will make your opponent lose a third of your life, of a third of the amount of life, that you have gained. And basically, yeah, just play a lot of spells first, and then win. And because this card makes all your opponents lose 1 life, you can also play it in Commander. You can also play the same combo in Commander and win the game. So yeah, keep it. It's actually a very good card. Moving on, we have a second to last card, which is Gearsmith Prodigy. Now, This card does not seem really special. It's a 1/2 for 1 blue that gets +1/+0 as long as you control an artifact. But hey, I will never say no to a 2/2 for just 1 mana, especially if you just need an artifact to make it become a 2/2. So maybe you should not just throw it away right now. And the last card here is Goblin Instigator. Now you use this card, you should use this card in a Goblin deck, of course, but also other creature heavy decks could like this card as well. Now this card is good because it has basically the ability of giving you 2 creatures for 1 card. And yeah, there's not much else to say. Very good card, very solid. If you can blink it many times, you gain a lot of tokens as well. And yeah, it's a 1/1 for 1 and red, but gives you a token when it enters the battlefield. So, as I said before, a good card. Okay, I think my list is now over. I actually did not attend the Throne of Eldraine pre-release, but I will maybe do some Throne of Eldraine related videos. I don't know how the events will stack in my favor. And with that said, I think that I have bothered you long enough. I'm gonna go straight to bed and sleep because tomorrow I will have to work and I'm already really tired, as you can hear from my voice. So yeah, good night and bye, I guess.